So you shared this guide with us, the Lover's Weekend Guide. And the core idea, it's just really smart, isn't it?
It really is.
This dedicated time, getting away from the everyday pressures to actually, focus on reconnecting intimately.
Yeah, with your partner.
What really grabbed me right away was the suggestion that even with like super packed schedules, we should try and aim for this kind of intentional time maybe every 6 weeks or so.
It makes it feel doable.
It feels achievable,
Yeah.
but also like really important for keeping that connection, strong.
It really does highlight that you have to be proactive, doesn't it, to maintain a healthy romantic relationship.
Totally.
It's not something that just happens. It takes conscious effort,
Yeah.
planning, and giving that frequency almost gives you permission to prioritize it.
Exactly. Permission. And the guide, it's not like it tells you exactly what to do. It's incredibly diverse in the scenarios it covers.
Right.
We're not just talking about the classic romantic getaway. It gets into steamy city hotels, those really cozy countryside retreats,
Oh, yeah, the dream.
and even like imaginative ways to transform your own home. It's a real spectrum of possibilities.
That variety is so important, I think, because romantic looks and feels different for every couple.
Sure.
And even for the same couple at different times. The guide seems to really get that personal element.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So our goal today in this deep dive is to really unpack the most compelling and useful recommendations from this guide.
Get some actionable ideas out there.
Yeah, exactly. Give you, our listener, some genuinely useful ideas for crafting a really impactful, memorable, romantic weekend, whatever your situation is. It really seems to boil down to creating a specific atmosphere and bringing a real sense of intentionality to the whole thing. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's definitely more than just changing the scenery. It's about actively shaping an environment
The mindset.
and cultivating that mindset. Yeah, that encourages intimacy and, well, deep connection.
Okay, so let's really dive into this whole idea of creating the atmosphere. The guide kicks off by saying that relaxed feelings are just fundamental, like a prerequisite for any sensuality.
Which makes perfect sense, right? It's hard to connect intimately if you're stressed out or, on edge.
Totally. And it underlines how the place you choose, the overall vibe, really influences how our minds and bodies react.
Think of it like setting the stage for a performance. The environment cues our emotions, our expectations.
Yeah.
A space that's been thoughtfully put together can help us let go of the daily stuff, the anxieties, and open up to more intimate feelings.
Let's get into some specific examples from the guide. It paints this lovely picture of a country escape. A charming country hotel that mixes modern comforts like great food with those timeless romantic bits. A big four-poster bed,
Classic.
a roaring log fire. It even suggests making sure you won't be disturbed, especially at breakfast. That sounds like pure bliss. And having drinks right there, easily accessible in the room, such a small detail, but it says a lot about indulgence and ease.
That element of uninterrupted time is just gold, isn't it?
It really is.
It lets you fully sink into the experience without the usual demands popping up.
Right.
And those little touches, like drinks on hand, they really add to that feeling of being, looked after, pampered.
And the packing list for this country trip is just inspired. A yoga mat, which hints at maybe a relaxed physical connection beyond just the obvious.
Or even something sensual.
Right. A copy of the Kama Sutra. Okay, a classic for exploration, maybe a shared learning thing.
Yeah.
A picnic basket with champagne, perfect for those spontaneous romantic moments.
Right.
And walking shoes, encouraging you to get out and explore the beauty around you together. It's a very holistic approach to the weekend.
It is. It's not just about the room.
No. So it's suggesting this multifaceted connection, physical relaxation, maybe a deeper dive into intimacy and desire. Feels very intentional beyond just being in a nice place.
And what's fascinating is exactly that blend. It encourages both like inward focus yoga, Kama Sutra, and outward connection picnics, walks.
Yeah.
It's about engaging on multiple levels.
Okay, but what if a full hotel stay just isn't happening right now?
Reality check.
The guide has some equally tempting ideas for changing up your own space, maybe a temporary apartment. It talks about embracing a different lifestyle, even exploring other selves. That's an intriguing idea.
The idea of stepping outside your usual routines, your roles, can be surprisingly freeing, actually.
Yeah.
A new environment, even if it's temporary, can be a catalyst for breaking habits and, embracing a more spontaneous side.
And it gets quite playful. The guide even suggests indulging in those slightly silly, very spontaneous things like licking ice cream off each other.
Right.
And the advice to bring sensual items, feathers, silks, satins, that's all about really dialing up the tactile side of things, heightening the physical senses.
These seemingly small details can have a pretty big impact on our sensory experience, you know? Textures like silk, feathers, they stimulate nerve endings differently
Right.
and can definitely build that sense of anticipation, excitement.
Let's dig a bit more into those sensory details. Scent gets a mention, perfumed candles, massage oils,
Important.
and lighting the guide wisely says, ditch the harsh, bright lights for a much softer, more inviting, maybe even pinkish glow. It's all about consciously crafting a mood, isn't it?
Absolutely. Scent and light are incredibly powerful tools for affecting our emotional state.
Yeah.
Certain smells can be inherently arousing or really comforting, and softer, warmer light, it tends to be more flattering and just generally better for intimacy.
I particularly like the winter wonderland idea. The guide
Ah,
talks about that great contrast between the cold outside and really cozy inside, and it makes a pretty direct link to the arousing nature of ice next to bare skin. That definitely gets your attention.
it plays with that interesting contrast, doesn't it? The sharp difference in temperature can definitely heighten physical sensations, create excitement,
Uh,
but the guide also makes a crucial point. The body needs to be properly warm for sensual touch to actually feel good. Shivering isn't exactly romantic.
Right. Good point. So the advice is crank up the stove, get
Yeah.
some hot drinks like Glue Wing going, create that lovely warm cocoon.
Exactly.
Now, for something completely different, grand passion. This leans into a luxurious hotel setting, suggesting maybe Baroque or even a high-class brothel-like vibe to really fuel the sexual imagination. That's quite an image.
It's all about tapping into fantasy, escapism. Opulent, maybe slightly decadent surroundings can help lower inhibitions, create a sense of theatricality, letting you and your partner step into different roles, explore desires.
And the wardrobe suggestion is just,
Yeah.
wow. Extravagant lingerie, maybe even a fur coat with flimsy things underneath. In the lobby of a grand European hotel, that's certainly making a statement.
It's about embracing a sense of daring, playfulness. Using clothes not just practically, but as a deliberate tool for seduction, for role play.
Yeah.
The unexpectedness of that combo is a key part of its appeal.
Then there's the murder mystery weekend, which takes a really playful, almost theatrical turn.
Agatha Christie style.
Right. With suggestions like an old-fashioned bed with wooden bedposts, silken ropes and ties, soft blindfolds, a mirror, even grand piano. It adds this element of intrigue, lightheartedness.
It does.
The props, the scenario, they can create a sense of playful dominance and submission, if, that's what a couple is into.
It's a fascinating way to inject some fun and role-playing into things. The specific props really evoke a particular kind of playful tension.
The guide does include a very important warning here, though. Be mindful of other guests. Keep the more enthusiastic sleuthing private.
Definitely crucial. Boundaries and consent are always key, even in role-play and fantasy. The guide rightly notes the importance of making sure everyone's comfortable, safe, and that you consider, other people.
Okay, changing gears completely. Dance floor drama. The guide beautifully describes the tango as almost visual foreplay,
Good description.
highlighting those sensual, close, gyrating movements. Even just watching talented dancers can be incredibly alluring.
Dance is such an inherently sensual activity, isn't it? The physical closeness, the shared rhythm, that often unspoken communication.
Yeah.
It can be a very powerful form of nonverbal intimacy. The visual foreplay comparison really captures that.
And then there's the idea of taking Latin dance classes together somewhere exotic, maybe a beautiful hacienda-style hotel that adds another fantastic layer. Adventure, shared experience.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
All in the classic symbolic gesture. A single rose.
Can't beat a rose. It's such a timeless symbol of love, passion, adds that touch of traditional romance.
Yeah.
And learning something new together, like dancing, can be a wonderful way to bond, build confidence, create those lasting shared memories.
Now let's move to something appealing to totally different senses. Gourmet Hideaway. This section really focuses on the sensuality of food.
Food and romance. A long history there.
The guide talks about creating tempting picnics with exotic fruits, grapes, pears, raspberries, bananas, strawberries. Just reading the list is evocative.
It really is. The act of preparing and sharing delicious food, especially something visually appealing with great smells, can be deeply intimate.
And it gets even more sensual with the idea of a lover's banquet, where partners playfully decorate each other with those fruits, plus cream and honey.
Pure indulgence.
Right, and those long, elegant flutes of champagne, maybe even drizzled on each other. It all sounds incredibly tactile and playful.
It's about engaging multiple senses at once: taste, touch, sight, smell.
Yeah.
The act of playfully feeding each other, using food sensually, can really help break down inhibitions and foster that joyful intimacy.
For a completely different kind of connection, the guide explores a spiritual retreat focusing on Tantric sex practices. The emphasis here is on deeply feeling what your partner feels through touch, caressing, leading to a kind of merging of sensuality.
Tantra really emphasizes being present, mindfulness, achieving a profound connection with your partner's energy.
Right.
The focus shifts away from just like a goal-oriented approach to sex towards a more holistic, sensual exploration of intimacy.
The key seems to be unhurried time, completely free from distractions, people, phones.
Essential for Tantra.
And the guide explains that Tantra deliberately slows down the process towards climax, suggesting there's a greater spirituality in sustaining arousal.
Yeah.
That's a very different perspective for many people.
It definitely challenges the more sort of Western focus on immediate gratification.
Yeah.
It encourages a more mindful, extended experience of sensual connection. That merging idea really highlights the deep interconnectedness.
Now, for something a bit more daring, sex in the city.
Okay.
This section explores the thrill of acting out fantasies in unexpected, maybe semi-public places, an office after hours, a quiet library corner,
Ooh, risky.
or even meeting as strangers in a bar.
Uh-huh.
The element of the unexpected, that sexual frisson, is clearly the main appeal here.
Right, that frisson, that exciting, almost nervous anticipation.
Exactly.
That element of perceived risk, even if it's small, and the potential for being discovered can be highly arousing for some couples.
Yeah, really.
Stepping outside the usual routine, acting out fantasies in unusual places, can be a powerful way to break predictability, inject excitement.
Of course, the guide does wisely mention, don't actually break any laws, which is probably very good advice.
Probably essential advice, yes.
And that meeting as strangers scenario in a bar, that's a classic role-play dynamic, isn't it? Can definitely reignite some sparks.
It allows for a temporary suspension of the familiar relationship dynamic, lets you explore new facets of attraction, desire. That sense of anonymity, even with someone you know so well, can be surprisingly liberating.
Then we have Motel Lust, described as a strictly clothes-off, no-holds-barred weekend.
Okay, pretty direct.
The central focus here is pure physicality, uninhibited expression.
This theme really embraces a more direct, maybe less emotionally complicated expression of sexual desire.
Yeah.
The emphasis is on shedding not just clothes, but also any lingering inhibitions.
The guide puts a strong focus on personal grooming for both partners. In this scenario, suggests shaving, hair removal, indulging in self-massage with nice oils or body gleamer. For women, it even suggests maybe an all-over tanning treatment. It's all about feeling your most physically attractive, confident in your own skin.
It's about consciously enhancing your physical appeal, creating heightened anticipation and desire through self-care, attention to detail, and the tactile part, the massage oil, further enhances that sensual experience.
Finally, we have Home Alone. The core strategy here is complete isolation.
The dream.
Haha, right. Letting friends and family think you're away, pulling down the blinds, silencing phones, locking doors. The goal is creating a totally private sanctuary just for sexual experimentation.
This theme really underlines the value of dedicated, uninterrupted time for intimacy.
Totally.
By consciously cutting out all those external distractions, couples can truly focus just on each other, their shared desires.
And it really encourages you to satisfy those curiosities, maybe stock the fridge with tempting, indulgent foods. And even consider incorporating things like movie making or playful role-playing with costumes, like a medical uniform. It's about creating your own private world for the weekend.
That blank canvas of being completely alone together really allows for a greater sense of freedom.
Yeah.
And the uninhibited exploration of shared fantasies without any fear of judgment or interruption.
Now, the guide also touches upon a really important practical topic: enjoying safer sex.
Good. Very important.
It gives a brief overview of what safer sex means, basically. Any sexual activity that doesn't involve exchanging bodily fluids.
Right.
And points out the reduced risk with barrier methods like condoms.
It's such a crucial, responsible thing to include. Sexual well-being is absolutely integral to a healthy, fulfilling, intimate life.
Absolutely.
Open, honest communication about sexual health and consistently practicing safer sex are fundamental ways of showing respect and care for your partner.
It specifically addresses oral sex, noting it also carries risk if mucous membranes are broken.
Which people sometimes forget.
Exactly. And it offers practical advice like using condoms for fellatio, latex barriers for cunnilingus. That's really important, actionable info for listeners.
Providing that kind of clear, practical guidance on reducing risk across different sexual activities really empowers people.
Yeah.
Lets them make informed decisions about their sexual health and well-being.
The guide widely advises that anyone with concerns about their sexual health or their partner's history should absolutely prioritize safer sex,
Definitely.
emphasizing that having sex only with someone with a clean bill of health and consistently using safer sex methods are the only reliable ways to avoid STIs. It's a straightforward, responsible message.
Ultimately, prioritizing safer sex lets couples enjoy intimacy with greater peace of mind
Yay.
and actively protects their long-term health and well-being.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into the Lover's Weekend Guide, the central message really seems clear. Creating a deliberate, imaginative atmosphere is just key.
Absolutely key.
Key to crafting a truly fulfilling, memorable romantic weekend. Whether you're planning that big escape to a fancy hotel, or creatively transforming your apartment, or just locking the doors at home. This guide offers such a wonderfully diverse range of possibilities. It really caters to all sorts of different tastes, different circumstances.
It beautifully underlines the idea that romance isn't just about grand gestures or exotic locations.
Right.
It's fundamentally about intentionality, paying attention to often overlooked details, consciously cultivating an environment that actively fosters deeper connection, intimacy, desire.
So considering all these incredible ideas, transforming surroundings, engaging senses, was just one small but impactful change you could realistically make to your next intimate encounter.
Good question to ponder.
Whether it's that planned weekend away or just an evening at home, really think about how that little bit of intentionality can truly elevate your connection and deepen the whole experience.